We are watching Hurricane Milton very closely at this hour on its ominous path toward Florida. Late today, back up to a Category 5 now with winds up to 165 miles an hour. Now one of the strongest hurricanes ever recorded in the Gulf. Tonight, millions are now under evacuation orders across Florida. Authorities warning them to get out now. President Biden calling it a matter of life and death. And at this hour, Hurricane Milton is a monster storm. You can see they're about 480 miles from Tampa. The eye is expected to make landfall somewhere in the Tampa Bay area. Of course, this will still wobble a bit in these final hours, set to slam ashore late tomorrow night, right into the early morning hours of Thursday morning, right in the middle of the night, with a record storm surge as high as 15 feet. It could be the first direct hit in Tampa from a major hurricane in more than 100 years. But landfall, as I mentioned, could shift right up to the last minute, and much of the state remains on high alert tonight. A team of hurricane hunters witnessing the force of Milton firsthand, flying into the eye wall to collect data rocked by severe turbulence.
A local emergency currently exists.
And then the warnings today. Police there in Treasure Island, just outside Tampa Bay, driving through neighborhoods with emergency warnings, urging people to evacuate now. And look at this tonight, bumper-to-bumper traffic for miles on I-75. This is near Naples right here. The outer bands of the hurricane arrive tomorrow afternoon. The storm surge right there in Naples could be as high as 8 feet, again up to 15 feet possible in Tampa, which would be a record. Long lines tonight at gas stations, more than 1,300 Florida stations running out of gas. Some tanker trucks racing to refill them. Those trucks are now getting an escort from state police. Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z standing by with the new forecast just in from the Hurricane Center. But we begin with Whit Johnson in Tampa with the emergency preparations unfolding right now.
Tonight, mandatory evacuations on both coasts of Florida. Highways jammed. Millions heeding the calls to get out of Hurricane Milton's path before it's too late. Tampa's airport already deserted. Orlando's packed, set to close tomorrow. Authorities filling Tropicana Field with cots, a base camp for first responders. Governor DeSantis mobilizing some 8,000 National Guard troops.
This is probably the largest National Guard mobilization in advance of a storm in Florida history.
The monster hurricane strengthening back into a Category 5 in the Gulf. Hurricane hunters jolted by extreme turbulence as they flew into Milton's eye wall. The storm taking aim at the Tampa metro area, home to more than 3 million people, and hasn't seen a direct hit from a major hurricane in more than 100 years.
Say you're in a single-story home, 12 feet is above that house. So if you're in it, basically that's the coffin that you're in.
Many of the streets here in Tampa are still lined with debris. All of this left over from Hurricane Helene, which came with a record storm surge of up to 8 feet in some places. But if you take a look above from our drone camera, you could just imagine what could happen to these homes with a surge nearly twice as high.
It was above the baseboard.
Tani Tahirai just finished gutting parts of his home after Helene.
This is what's left.
This is what's left out of the house. I was able to salvage.
Now forced to evacuate again with his wife and 3 children.
They're kids. This is their safety, right? This is when they come for safety. So when that's threatened, they're gonna cry, and not just because they lost toys or clothes or their favorite shoes, but they cry because this is their safe zone.
Tampa General Hospital, which treats the area's most critical patients, will remain operational, hoping the aqua fence they used to keep the surge away during Helene will also hold up against Milton.
Nothing potentially like this, a storm surge up to 15 feet, has happened in our lifetimes.
That's right.
How much does that concern you?
Well, I think the hospital's ready, right? It's concerning, but I think we're ready.
And David, this Tampa neighborhood is one of many now almost deserted as people are leaving. Counties are also offering buses to help take people to shelters. We spoke to some families here who rode out the storm during Hurricane Helene, but this time they tell us they are evacuating, not taking any chances with all of this dangerous debris and the potential threat of a 15-foot storm surge. David?
Yeah, that debris just from Hurricane Helene weeks ago. Whit Johnson, they're facing this next hurricane again with thank you.